Hello, this is Atsushi Hara. I'm the rcMart spokesperson, and then I'm introduced to Performa Racing and electric the products. So Performa Racing, we have speedo controllers and then brushless motors and LiPo batteries for especially for racing spec. Which is I always using for the on-road and off-road racing. The Performa speedos motors, the fully adjustment for the programming. Normally that we use for the laptop to change the setup. Hopefully you can see it clearly for this. And normally I put the plug into the speed controllers, and then it's connecting the batteries, and then switches on. And then I need the road to what is inside now the speedos. So this is what I have now inside of the setup on the speedos. So basically you can check also all of the data after you run, and so all of the runtime, the battery voltage, minimum voltage, actual temperatures, maximum temperatures, motor speedo. We calculate by RPMs, and then also you can check everything, all the status to the connecting with the radio or sensor cables, overheat, low voltage, over voltage, all of the things you can check right after the run. So you can find the problems or make sure it's all okay, or something have a problems. And you can check everything inside this display. And the basic setting, we call the basic setting was like a brake, the drive mode, it's like a forward brake or a forward brake in the back, like the levers things. Also we have the drag brakes, the cut voltage setup, the punch, torque, brake, initial brake, and brake frequency, and the neutral range, top speed, brinky mode, BC voltage, and number of the cells, how many cells you have, the overheat protections, and the number of the poles, like the different pole, different type of the motors. Also you can change to the programs. So normally for racing situations, we will change to the drag brake, which is like when it's off the throttle. You can change to no brake at all, or just slightly to come drag brake, 1%, 2%, or maybe 10% of kind of strong drag brake. More drag brake is more easier to drive because you don't need to hit the brake. But if you make it too strong the drag brake, it's gonna be maybe spin out sometimes, or too much reduce the corner speed. So normally for the buggy, we put like 3 or 4. For the touring cars, we put like 10 to 15 in between. And a punch, it's the same as like names, like the punch is like the bottom punch you can control. More higher numbers makes more good response, and lower numbers like more soft punch, so more smoother to drive. And the max torque is like it's torque main like a mid-range power. So if you higher numbers, you can have more powerful feeling. It's especially in the mid sections. So you can adjust for initial response with the punch, and then the mid-range power you can adjust with the max torque. For the buggy, you don't need much torque because of it just maybe overpower. So the torque also number 2 initial setup for the A-scale buggy. For touring cars, especially for modified class, I think it's minimum like 5 or 6. And for stock racing, maybe 7, 8, sometimes 10. Especially for no boost, I put the 10, number 10 of the max torque. And a punch also, you can up to, I think you can up to the 30, I think. Yes, you can up to the 30 for the punch. So for no boost racing for 10 scale buggy, 10 scale buggy or 10 scale touring cars, I think it's more higher punch, it's just more, you can feel more response. But for A scale buggy, I think it's 2 in between 5, I think it's good enough. And the max brake, the brake is just it's just number of the max brake. So you can set 100% of the max brake, but also you can reduce from the radial setup, or maybe you just reduce from here. It's kind of same function, but I think you can set maybe 50%, 60% from speedo, and then you can reduce small change. Maybe you can do with the radial. Initial brake is like this combination with the drag brake. So if drag brake you put the 10, and then it's the initial brake also minimum 10. You can put higher numbers, but you cannot make a lower than drag brake. So the initial brake is just the initial touch. You can change to the feeling of the brake. So higher number have a more brake response is more stronger. Lower number have less response. So kind of soft brake in initial. So initial brake, you don't want to put so high numbers because you have to be controlled to initial to end. So initial and the max brake is just you have to control by yourself. So I recommend the initial brake. It's should be same as the drag brake. This is always nice feeling. So when you put the drag brake 3 or 5, also initial brake at 3 or 5 is okay. So initial brake just depends on the drag brakes. Brake frequency, the frequency is like lower number have more aggressive feeling of the brake, and higher number frequency is like more smoother. So this is also depends on the driver's feeling. So I think everybody have same different number of the setup because of everybody different feeling. So I like to put like 1000s, sometimes like less numbers of the brake frequency. Also this is really fully adjustable. Minimum, the range is minimum 650 to then 1000s is maximum. So I would like to like 800. It's like in between in a range. It's always neutral feeling. So for buggy, maybe A-scale buggy is a very heavy car, so I think it's and it also depends on the track condition. If it's loose, maybe higher number of the frequency is more easier to hit the brake. And high grip track, maybe you can put like a lower number, like 650, like minimum frequency, which is like more responsive. And the neutral range is like the neutral. You can control the neutral. You can set up the neutral range, like more higher number, like doesn't move with the initial neutral range. A low number is like more sensitive with just a touch of trigger. So, but if you do too much lower numbers, less than 3, it's too sensitive. So I recommend to put in 3, which is like always feel nice. In a brinky mode, if you race for a brinky class, yeah, you have to be set the brinky mode that make fresh from the speedo. So when you're going to race, and you have to check sure the speedo got brinky or not. It's only that you can prove this is a brinky with the fresh light. And also the overheat protections. The overheat protections, like if you make the cut of overheat protection say off, mean like the speedo doesn't stop, even get heat. So if you have it's kind of the problem with the hot temperature track to heat cut. If you make the on, then I think you have to be off for heat protections. But if you make off, maybe sometimes get too much overheat and speed up for some reason, or maybe some wrong gear ratio, or put too much the turbo things, or too much make the power. You can make too much damage on the speedo. So I recommend to use heat protections on most of the times, but for extreme situation maybe you need to do off, but also you have to take some risk. So I recommend to use the heat protection on, but it depends on the situation. So sometimes also I do for heat protection off, and at this moment I don't have any problem with even I make the heat protection off. So normally okay, but it's not the 100%. So I recommend to on for heat protections. So this is all about the basic setup, and the next one is the timing. This is more important for things for setup. The timing is like all about power and feeling, and this is like extra. We call the turbo. Make more the timings more, so which is like more use energy. So we can adjust with the timing, max timing, and the turbo setup. So timing also you can adjust with the when you want the turbo by the calculate by the RPM. So the RPMs range, we have the first timing 1, timing 2. We have a two-stage setup for and you can change by the number of RPM. So normally for the default setup, which is always good, it's most of the track, so you don't need to change too much. But maybe if you want something like change the feeling, how long to keep the turbo. So like if you want a long time, you want to use the turbo on the straightaway, you can put like more wide range of the RPM. You make the 49,000 RPM for timing 1, 50,000 for timing 2, which is like only 1,000 RPM difference. So it's really short time you can use the turbo. So which is only small things. The short time you can use the turbo. So if you make more different gap of this RPM, timing 1 and timing 2, then you can have more long time use the turbo. So you can have more turbo time, but it's also make more heat on the motor, so and speed too. So it also depends on how long straight and how long the also layout. Depends on the layout, how long with the straightaway. So this is really adjustable, but it sometimes get more confused because this is really useful, but you need to know, you need to understand 100% what exactly the difference if you change the number of the RPM. So this is really tricky technical things, but if you understand what it is, I think you can have a lot of advantage for this. And plus you can change to the max timing. It's max timing more high number is basically more power. Low number is less power. And less power make less heat, more power make more heat. So also depends on the gear ratio, depends on the outside temperature. So you can push the limit, but you have to be careful to set this max timing, because if too much, maybe you can make overheat. And the turbo also you can change to the when is turbo coming to like the delay. So if you put the 0, I mean like no delay. So when you pull trigger 100% and you get the turbo right away. And 0.1 second, we have 0.1 second to 1 second. I think 1 second is I think a little bit too much, so we adjust by 0.1 seconds. So 0.1 or 0.2, it's normally good. If you feel the turbo coming too early, maybe you can put 0.3. But if more than 0.4 or 0.5, I think it's coming too late when it's turbo coming. So I recommend 0.1 to 0.3 in between. For the stock racings, for boosted stock racing, I think it's sometimes no delay, so I put the 0 sometimes. But also depends on the track layout and condition. So for stock racing boost touring cars, 0 or 0.1. And the other class, modified touring car or scale buggy, maybe 0.1 to 0.3 in between. It's gonna be good numbers. And the turbo slope is like, this is like also it's kind of making it complicated, but it's when you set the turbo max timing, and then this max timings, when you set the 15 degrees the max timing, and then when you put the turbo slope 5 is degree, mean like 0.1 second each, 5% up until the max timings numbers. So if you put higher numbers, each 0.1 second when it's turbo came, how to increase this number. So when you put the high numbers, it's turbo kick more kicking. More smaller numbers, you have more softer for kicking for when it's turbo come. So on the straightaway, when you put the full powers, so when it's turbo come, like it's suddenly like this, or it's softly to the end of the straight, it's kind of feel soft to, or the turbo coming to the end of the straight. So lower numbers, it's good for low grip track, or maybe you can save for the tire overheat. If too much high numbers, you can also make the turbo overheat, tire overheat. So this overheat tires things, and then this setup can be connected. So this turbo slope setup is also really important for racing, for results. So I really like to recommend you can try to different number for testing, and you can figure out what is the best numbers. The other things, we have the calibrations. You can calibrations from laptop, or you can use just the button on the switch. So this switch plus they have one buttons. The buttons, if we want the calibration, when you just the fresh speedos, you need a calibration with the transmitters. So on the transmitter first, and then press this the button first, and then just keep press with the button and on the switch, and hold like 1 second, less than 2, and then you are off the finger from the buttons, and then starting beep sound, and then you can have 2 times press. So one is for the neutral, doesn't touch any the throttle, and then one press the neutral 1 time, and the pull trigger full power and 1 time, and the full brake and 1 time. So sorry, sorry to say this, not 2 times, 3 times to do for the calibration. So you can do with the laptop, or you can do the button. So the both way you can do it. And the firmware update, this is you can download from our website. When we release a new firmware, then you can install from website. You can download from the website, and then you can install to the update to our speedos. So at this moment we have a newest one. So we just keep doing to make new firmwares to make more the optimized for the softwares. Maybe we can put the new functions, many of the features. So it depends on the generation, depends on what is popular now, and we can update all the time. So just stay tuned on our website, P1, the Performa Racing website. And the last one is this is all about the HMX speedo, the things. for our introductions. So basically all of the small setup it can help for all of the range of the categories and models, different class and all the things. So yes, this is all of the Performa Racing products. So please stay tuned for the brand. Thank you.